Going to be doing is we're going to be doing something called content curiosities. And what this is going to involve is you are going to go out into the class and you're going to survey your peers. You're going to ask them a very provocative question, a question that doesn't necessarily have a right or wrong answer, but it requires really deep thinking. And what you're also going to have to do is put yourself in the shoes of someone else and try to think about why someone else thinks the way they do. So what you're going to do today is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our T-chart. We're going to do what's called a tally graph, and we're going to have two possible responses to the survey question. So what I'd like you to do is on your T-chart is I'd like you to go ahead and I'd like you to write the two potential or possible responses. So on the left side of your T-chart, and you already have your T-chart graphic organizers already with you, I want you to write this, and it's posted up here so you can see it. Most people believe that the United States has the right to police the world. I'm going to read that one more time. Most people believe that the United States has the right to police. What we're going to do now is we're all going to practice using the language that we're going to be using when we're conducting our survey. So everybody, I'd like you to repeat after me. I'm going to read it one time and then we're all going to read it together. Most people believe that the United States has the right to police the world. Okay, that was excellent. I heard everyone's voices. Over here in the middle, you will see a chart, and I wrote this little arrow, you ask. And this is what you're going to be asking your fellow students. To what do you attribute the support for the wars the United States is currently fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq amongst people who believe it is right? Okay? And you'll notice this verb, attribute. And I've written the definition because remember when I told you that you're going to have to be putting yourself potentially in the shoes of someone who does support the war, because if you do not support the war, we're going to actually practice using our academic language, asking each other the question, and I put an asterisk here and right here so you would see, you're going to ask your neighbor the question, and then your neighbor is going to respond using this academic language frame, okay? So what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to turn to your neighbor, and I'd like you, if you're a one, I'd like you to begin. I'd like all the ones to begin by asking their neighbor the question. Go ahead.
To what do you attribute the support for the wars the U.S. is currently fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq amongst people who believe it is right?
Now that everybody has asked and received responses from at least 10 different people in the class, now that you're back in your seats, now we're going to examine the data. And we're going to do some tabulation. So what I want you to do first is I'd like you to tabulate your responses so that you know what your data looks like. And now we're going to work on what can we say? And we're going to use academic language to frame our responses. The first thing we're going to do after we've tabulated and added up our data is we're going to work on what % of people responded that they attribute support for the wars due to. So you're going to have to see. And the last thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing some summary statements. And we're going to be sharing those statements with our table group. And the following frames I want you to complete. The data we collected as a class reflects that more people attribute support for the wars to this versus this, okay? Which response had the majority? And in your table group. So now you're going to tabulate your data as a bigger group. And number two,